What's doing, everybody? Today is Thursday, July 11th. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard join me on the podcast today. More Hollywood elites change their tune on President Joe Biden, and Democrats vote against the bill to stop illegal immigrants from voting in our elections. I'm Alec Lace. This is the Alec Lace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody to the Alec Lace Show. I'm happy and honored, as always, to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast live on Rumble, please get down there, hit the follow button, share the broadcast, and don't forget to like this video if you are enjoying it. Honored to be here with you guys. Got a very, very big program, a banger for you guys today. Got two amazing guests. First up, I'm going to have Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves on the show, and following that, we are going to have former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who is on the short list for Donald Trump's vice president, the announcement of which we will get within the week here. I know we're going to get it next week for sure. Could come anytime between now and the RNC's kickoff, but we'll see what happens there. I know Tulsi Gabbard is a name that has been bounced around quite a bit for that position. So I'm honored to have both of them on here on the podcast today. If you missed out, if you're new to the program here, please flip it back and check out some of the other great guests that I've had the honor of having on the podcast here. You see, I've updated some of the background. I switch it out every once in a while. You've seen Vivek Ramaswamy, Laura Trump, Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, Alex Jones, Congressman Burgess Owens, Riley Gaines. Go through the archives of the show and check out all of the amazing guests, over 100 guests. I think I'm up to like 130 now. It's amazing how quick it goes, but please go through and check them all out. Before I get to the guests, I just really wanted to hit two things real quick here with you guys. One, which was this vote that went up on the SAVE Act yesterday. Now, the SAVE Act passes the House. Now, this bill requires proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. Now, we know places like New York, the local elections, they allow illegal immigrants to vote. But this is for the federal elections. This is to show proof of citizenship. Now, it passed 221 to 198. All but 5 Democrats voted against this. Now, this is their claim is that we've done this before, asking for voter ID is racist in their mind. To them, this is going back to Jim Crow laws. They're saying this is singling out minorities. Now, I've played this one clip for you guys a bunch of times where the guy goes in to black neighborhoods and asks black people if they have an ID, and every single person he asked says, of course, and almost looks at the person like he's an absolute idiot for asking them. And wouldn't you be? Imagine going up to a person of color, a Hispanic person, a black person, and saying, hey, do you have an ID, like a driver's license, or is that too difficult for you to get? Like, you'd feel like a total schmuck doing something like this. Who are these people that, this is a racist thing to ask for ID? This has absolutely nothing to do with racism, nothing to do with anything except the Democrats wanting illegal immigrants to vote because they want to stay in power. They're not flooding I've said this 1,000 times, they are not flooding this country with illegal immigrants because they are heartbroken and they are trying to help the poor, struggling illegal immigrant. This is all about helping the Democrat Party stay in power. Number one, they do it by redistricting, by sending all these illegals to districts and changing the voting map. And number two, they eventually will like to have these illegal immigrants voting in the election. Otherwise, it's pointless for them. They're not doing it to help people better their lives. If that was the case, every Democrat neighborhood, every Democrat city would be flourishing, and you wouldn't see homeless people draped on the city sidewalks like an ornament. And that's one of the ornaments of every Democrat city is homeless people all over the place. You think the Democrats are about helping people? You're out of your mind. If you still believe Democrats are for the people and that they are actually trying to help middle-class people, regular Joes like you and me, then you are the dumbest person on the face of the earth. because nothing in their track record, nothing in their history shows you anything of that. Here's Joe Biden yesterday talking with union leaders, and I'm the most pro-union president in history. He tells them, I'm a union member. I've been a part of the union for almost 25 years now, starting my 25th year next month. And I can tell you right now, the union members, the rank and file members, are not voting for Joe Biden in November. Now, maybe the people that are getting a cut of the cake up there from the politicians will be voting for Joe Biden. There's no doubt about that. But the regular working guys like myself, we are not voting for Joe Biden, despite the fact that the upper guys try to tell you that's what you got to do. Oh, we vote Democrat. Well, not around here, we don't. But this is about securing the election, this SAVE Act here. So let me flip it back real quick and hit you guys when I asked Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene about securing the election, because this is the big thing. We talk about Joe Biden, he's shot. We know that. Will he make it to the campaign? I've been saying he ain't making it to the starting gate. Do they replace him? Does it matter if we can't secure the elections? Here was my exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene a few weeks ago. But the thing we don't have the faith in is the integrity of the election, that we're going to get a fair one. We saw it swiped away from him in 2020. Have we done enough? Has enough steps been put in place to prevent some type of catastrophe happening where they steal it from Trump in 2020?
I really don't think so. Election laws were not changed in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada. A lot of these states didn't change their election laws, so I think we're open to widespread fraud again. I'm very concerned about it. Most people I know are so positive, they're almost measuring the drapes for the White House. And I'm telling everybody, look, we don't have it in the bag until we actually have it in the bag. So I think people need to talk everyone they know into voting for President Trump. It's an issue of, we don't care if you like him or not. It's not about liking him. It's about the fact that we have to get him in order to save this country.
Well said. And I think the Congresswoman is right. We have not done anything here to secure and make sure that they are not going to steal this election again from Donald Trump. Nothing. Now we're doing the SAVE Act. It's July. We're just putting a bill into the House now that says only Americans should vote in the federal elections. Why has this not been tattooed into the Constitution already? What are we doing here? And why are we doing this now? We're doing this July, a few months before the election. Shouldn't this have been proposed by the Congress, the House we have the majority? Shouldn't this have been proposed in January of 2021 when we first got the majority of the House? What are we waiting for here? Voter ID. Here's the poll here. Look, 81% of Americans think voter ID is necessary to vote. It should be mandatory. 81%. Who are these 19%? I guess they have to be illegal immigrants or just complete idiots. All right, let me touch on this real quick here because I know, don't forget here, I got Governor Tate Reeves of Mississippi joining me and also Tulsi Gabbard going to be here in a little bit. Hollywood elites were coming out against Joe Biden. Now, I told you guys on Tuesday about Stephen King and Rob Reiner, how they voiced their opinion, asking Joe to step down. Well, now you had two major Hollywood actors and fundraisers and donors and all-around Democrat shills come out and say Joe Biden got to go. Number one, George Clooney, who's a major fundraiser. George Clooney, just 3 weeks ago, was fundraising with Barack Obama, Jimmy Kimmel, Julia Roberts, and other Hollywood elites at that glitzy, glamorous fundraiser. And they raised millions of dollars for Joe Biden. George Clooney, who just helped them raise millions of dollars for Joe Biden just 3 weeks ago, has now come out and wrote, he didn't just say Joe Biden should step down. The guy wrote a friggin' essay for the New York Times about it. Here's part of it. He says, party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw, referring to the debate. 51 million people. What were you people watching for the last 4 years? You just saw this during the debate? Come on. George Clooney just got his working papers or his working marching orders to turn the tide on Joe Biden, turn the screws on Joe Biden. This guy does whatever he's told. That is what happens with these Hollywood people. They do what they are told. People think that it's like, oh, you become an actor. Like, oh, my whole life I wanted to be an actor. And now I got to, amazingly, I beat all the odds. I became an actor. And I have the best performance in a movie. I win an Oscar, the ultimate prize. And then I get up there in my acceptance speech and I start talking about, oh, climate change is real, and we really have to stop the climate change. And you start talking about all these Democrat talking points. Then you realize, oh, wait a minute. This guy didn't get his career because he was good. This guy got his career because he sold out. And that's the only way it works with these people. You either play ball with them by their rules, or you see how many Hollywood people get thrown out of there? They're banned from Hollywood. You see the censorship that goes on with the regular Joes. What do you think's happening to these Hollywood guys that come out? That's why so many of them are Republicans that are hiding in the closet in Hollywood. They don't dare speak a word against the party because their careers will be over. So here was George Clooney writing an essay just 3 weeks after he was telling everybody to donate money to Biden. As if he didn't know 3 weeks ago that Joe Biden lost his marbles. Another one, Michael Douglas. This one I love. I love this because I'm going to show you the before and after. Here's Michael Douglas. This is before and after. This is just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. And then I'm going to give you yesterday's clip. So I'm going to give you a month ago and yesterday. Back to back. Here you go. Michael Douglas.
One of those people who wished he had bowed out, let the field choose somebody else. How do you think about that?
Well, I think that I walk a little similar to him, and the people that I've talked to and everybody that I have say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine. We all have an issue with memories. As we get older, we forget names. He's overcome a stutter in his life, and sometimes he might. But let's just say that his entire cabinet, including his vice president, everybody in his cabinet, would be more than happy to work with him again in the next term.
3 hours later.
Do you agree with calls for him to step aside? Even Nancy Pelosi seems on the fence now about him stepping aside.
I know, this is such a tough one, but yeah. I adore the guy. 50 years of public service.
He's a lovely man.
He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And this just happens to be one of these elections that is just so crucial.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. I don't worry necessarily today or tomorrow, but a year down the line, I worry. I am concerned.
Yeah.
And
I do want to mention George Clooney just came out with an op-ed calling for Biden to step aside, saying the stakes are too high for future generations. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think it's a valid point. I mean, I'm deeply, deeply concerned. I mean, especially it's difficult because the Democrats have a big bench. I mean, they've got a lot of heavy hitters.
Yeah, Michael Douglas, as sharp as a tack. Michael Douglas just did a major fundraiser for Joe Biden back in April. Sharp as a tack from everybody he knows. Oh, this guy's sharp as a tack. Now, I'm deeply concerned. So you're telling me it just took you 4 weeks to figure out that Joe Biden might not be all wrapped too tight? These people are lying to you. Joe Biden and his family, and shame on his family. I think everybody could say the same thing. Jill Biden, what she is putting this guy through is barbaric. Now, I think Joe Biden's career, 50 years worth in politics. I almost said Hollywood. It might as well be Hollywood because the whole thing is a sham and a joke and an act. But 50 plus years in politics in Washington, what has been this guy's accomplishment? We make it sound like, oh, he's had such a brilliant political career. What the hell has this guy ever done? What is it? Here's Joe Biden's legacy. Here's the top 3 things of Joe Biden's legacy. Number 1 is going to be the 94 crime bill. He's the author of the 1994 crime bill. That's going to be one of the number 1 things he's remembered for. Number 2, he's going to be remembered for his absolute disgraceful Afghanistan withdrawal that got our people killed, that left all our equipment behind, that left Americans behind, that deserted and disgraced all the people that were helping us for years in that region. He's going to be known for that. So the 94 crime bill, the Afghanistan withdrawal, and he's going to be known as dementia, not getting out while the getting was good, hanging on too long, and his family doing nothing to help this guy. We're watching this guy whittle and weed away right before our eyes. He's literally dying before our eyes is what we are watching and witnessing here. And these people are trying to save face and say, well, it's not about getting him to November. What do you think is going to happen 3 years from now? What kind of shape is this guy going to be in? So it is doomsday coming here for the Democrat Party. They are going to have to do something drastic to get him out if he doesn't want to go. They're going to have to push him out. 25th Amendment. They're going to have to do something drastic soon because this is bad. And they can't just turn around now. We just had the Democrat senator came out yesterday. All these people have come out and already voiced their opinion, basically saying you can't vote for Joe Biden. So how do you now put the toothpaste back in the tube if they decide to run Joe Biden? What are you going to turn around 2 months from now and say, yeah, remember what I said? Forget about that. It's all in on Biden. I'm riding with Biden. Riding with Biden. Biden can't even ride a bicycle. Trouble in paradise for the Democrat Party. Meanwhile, the Republican side is united. We are behind Donald Trump. It is Donald Trump's party, and he is the one that's going to win in November. But as I said there with Marjorie Taylor Greene, have we done enough to secure the elections? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And why have we waited so long to do this SAVE Act stuff? All right, let's move on to the guests here. I got the honor and privilege of having Governor Tate Reeves join me on the podcast today. He's in the Zoom room. I was going to bring him on now. He is the 65th governor of the great state of Mississippi. He started there in 2020. Prior to that, he was the 32nd lieutenant governor of Mississippi. And before that, he was the 53rd Mississippi state treasurer. So I got a tight window to get in as much as possible. Let's bring the governor on.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
All right, joining me now, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. Welcome to the Alec Lake Show.
Great to be here. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's an honor to have you here. You know, Bidenomics has destroyed so much of America's economy. So many people, a lot of American families hurting because of what he's done since he's come into office. But the economy in Mississippi seems to be firing on all cylinders here. So what have you been able to do to turn around the economy there in the great state of Mississippi?
Well, thank you. We certainly have had a large number of records over the last several years, record low unemployment, more people working in our state than ever before. And really, we've focused on those policies that matter to drive more and more people into the workforce, more and more people into jobs, and really focused on those jobs that are the jobs not of the last 50 years, but the jobs of the next 50 years, which tend to pay more. So our per capita incomes are hitting record levels as well. We focus on things like education, workforce development, and workforce training to make sure we have a workforce that is ready for those jobs, that has the skills that they need to be able to perform those jobs. And then we've also focused on site development. We figured out 5 or 6 years ago that one of the biggest challenges facing America is that there aren't ready to build sites. And so we've been successful at convincing our legislature and our friends in local governments to invest in having sites available for these large companies that want to come in and invest large sums of money. And the success has been outstanding, Alec. I'll tell you, prior to me becoming governor, we've never had a project announced in our state's history larger than $1.2 billion. And over a 15-month period from October of 2022 to January of 2024, we announced not one, not two, but 3 projects over $2 billion in our state. So we've had a heck of a run economically.
Yeah, it's incredible what you've been able to accomplish there, despite the fact that there's been, like I said, so many problems with Bidenomics and the way he's handled it. If Joe Biden was out of the way, if he wasn't one of these guys putting a stranglehold on so many different aspects of our economy, would you be able to 10 times this? Would you be able to 10x that if he was out of the way? I mean, could it grow even more?
We certainly need someone in the White House that understands economics and understands that the tax and spend policies of the Biden administration really hurt everyday Americans. Look, we have people in Mississippi and people all across America that are seeing their incomes going up, but the problem is they're not realizing increased ability to spend because of the spending policies in Washington. Inflation is much higher than on the side of where you're trying to buy goods and services like gasoline and groceries, then what your wages are increasing. And so it's really putting a strain on Americans all across the country, and certainly my fellow Mississippians as well. They know who the president is every time they stop to buy gas. They remember who the president is every time they go in the grocery store. And that's the reason I think you look at the political environment today, while everyone wants to focus on a declining president, which is sad to say, but it's true. But the reality is this election is where it is because Americans are fed up with the policies of the Biden administration, not necessarily the capabilities of the one individual at the top of the ticket.
There's no doubt about that, Governor. I'm a railroad mechanic. I've been doing that for 24, going on 25 years now, union member. And what I've been saying is like, yes, they talk about, just like you said, a pay increase. What good is any pay increase that we get when the inflation is crushing us? I got 4 kids, 6 mouths in the house to feed, and I'm feeling it. So this is why it's like maybe the guys at the top that are getting a cut of the cake are saying, oh, yeah, you should vote Democrat. But the guys like me, the working guys that are out there on the street, we're not seeing it that way. And anybody that like you said, anybody that's got a local grocery store or a gas station in their neighborhood has now become a Biden hater and saying, hey, we got to do what we can to bring these prices down so that American families can start doing the things that they enjoy, maybe going on a vacation, having some of the little extras, where right now everyone's kind of clamped down and counting pennies so that they could just get by. And we don't want to just get by. We want to get ahead. And that's the key.
No doubt about it. Look, if your wage is up 5%, but everything that you buy that are necessities is up 10%, you're not doing very well. And I think that's why if you ask the question today across America, are you better off or worse off than you were 4 years ago? Almost to a person, certainly for those individuals making less than the upper 1%, what you find is their price of fuel, their price at the grocery store has risen far faster than has what their wages have risen. And that's something that is really a chokehold on the American economy. And what I want everyone to understand is this is a conscious decision by the Democrats in Washington, D.C. These are policies that they support. These are policies that passed with almost unilateral Democrat support in the Senate, unilateral Democrat support in the House of Representatives, with support of the president. These are their choices. And the fact is, their policies just don't work. We need government to get out of the way, not to try to pick and choose winners and losers.
Yeah, if the Democratic policies worked, there'd be shining Democrat cities all across this country, but that is not the case. They've been in control of some of these cities for decades, and there's been no improvement. So there's no doubt that the policies are a disaster. And one of the other things, obviously, is Biden's open border. We have been invaded in this country. You could call it an act of war with the fentanyl that's come through, the human trafficking that's going on. It's been a disaster. And whenever I talk to either governors or senators from different states, they say the same thing. Every state's now a border state. So how has the open border, Biden's allowing this invasion to happen, how has that affected Mississippians? And what are you seeing in your state from the effects of this open border?
Well, and everything that you just said is exactly right. We've had many conversations amongst Republican governors over the last 4 years. We actually went with Governor Abbott and 12 other Republican governors down to the border back in February of this year. And it's just mind-blowing the policies that have been put in place by the Biden administration. Again, the fact that over 5 million illegal immigrants have come into our country has been a conscious decision by the Biden administration. They chose to change policies from the Trump administration, and it has led to this, the largest number of illegal immigrants coming into our country in our history. And it's not just the illegal immigrants that are coming in that are affecting individuals, although we've had murders in certain states that we've all heard about where illegals have killed law-abiding Americans. And every one of those stories breaks my heart. But the reality is it's even bigger than that. It's all of the fentanyl that has come in. There's over 480 million doses of fentanyl that has come across our border since Joe Biden has been president. That's enough to kill every single American. And sadly, we've had people in my state that have overdosed with it. And unfortunately, we've had people in every state, young kids that have overdosed, and it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. It's an epidemic. There's no doubt. And it's got to be turned around because we cannot allow, and that's why I call it, it's almost an act of war. I mean, we have Americans that are dying as a result of this. We know China taking advantage of it with the fentanyl, getting it through with these Mexican cartels who are just profiting like crazy. And for them, you'd have to imagine they're exploiting they're going to take what they're given, and they're given an open border. They're going to exploit it. They're not going to say, oh, well, we're not going to take advantage of this. Why wouldn't you? Same thing if you have these terrorist organizations. We see more and more They're catching these guys. Some of them have been here for over a year, and they don't know who these people are, where they're going, what they're up to. So it is open season for the enemies of this country to take advantage of Joe Biden inviting them in and actually telling them, surge the border. It's almost an act of treason.
Well, I'll be honest with you. That's what worries me the most about the Biden open border policies is clearly we've had very sad, tragic events in states all across America with illegal immigrants. We have clearly seen the effects of the fentanyl. We have seen the effects of human trafficking and what that has done in states all across America. What worries me the most, though, is the threat to national security that 5 million individuals, many of whom are members of states and nations across the globe that do not like America. And I am very concerned about the number of potential terrorists that have crossed those borders, and some of them have not acted yet, but that should worry every single American. And I know it worries law enforcement because I talk to my law enforcement community regularly.
Yeah, well, and on that, if I could, I know you recently just signed a law enforcement bill, and I think it's important that we support our law enforcement. What was this law enforcement bill that you just recently passed? What does that do?
Yeah, so we actually signed a series of bills for our men and women in blue. One of the things that we have tried very hard over the last 4 years is to make it very clear that in Mississippi, we back the blue. We know that there are those who make mistakes and that they have to be held to account. But we passed a series of legislation, one of which we gave the ability for every law enforcement officer that is retiring the ability to purchase their firearm from the government agency from which they are retiring. That's from state, from local. So if you're at the sheriff's office, you are able to purchase your firearm at a price predetermined by that particular agency. So it's again, a small gesture, but one that's very important to those men and women who put that firearm on their side every single day. We also know that we have to work on training for our law enforcement officers. So we passed legislation in this session that I recently signed that is going to revamp our training board and our accountability board, because we think we need to provide more training for every single officer in the state. And we got to hold everyone to account. Make sure that they're getting those trainings that they need and that they are prepared to deal with a society that is very different today than it was 2 years ago, much less very different than the society that we lived in 20 years ago. And so we're trying to be proactive in that regard. We also have a death benefits fund where we are increasing the amount of money that every single member of our law enforcement community that sadly dies in the line of duty, that their families are taken care of. And we expanded it this year to not just include law enforcement officers, but our first responders as well. That's one of the things that we see across America now is that in terms of volunteer firemen and those who drive ambulances, et cetera, we have a real shortage in America of those individuals, and every single one of them are heroes. And so we are trying to find ways to incentivize them, more of them to come into that field because we need them, particularly in the rural parts of our state.
Yeah, I applaud you for your support of the blue, Governor, because it is important. And right now, just like you said, the incentives to join up the police department or be a first responder is less and less. The incentives aren't there, but especially when you're being called, for calls for defund the police. Police are constantly being looked down upon, especially by the Democrats, and it lowers that pool of people who want to get into law enforcement. We need good people in there, not just anybody. We need good people, who want to get in there. So I applaud you for that. One thing that's very important to me, Governor, that I wanted to touch on, and that I harp on quite a bit, is the nuclear family units in our country, to me, are really the most important fabric of our society. Without the nuclear family, it all falls apart. And we are seeing our nuclear families being destroyed in this country. And a lot of that done by Democrat policies too, by the way. But we got a fatherless crisis in this country. So many kids growing up without a dad, without a father figure in their home. In my opinion, it's the number one social issue that is facing our country right now. So what's your take on the nuclear family being broken down and how important it is to the success of the country?
Well, I could not agree with you more. The breakdown of the nuclear family is the greatest tragedy that has occurred in America over the last 30 to 40 years. The fact of the matter is, and I'm very blessed to be a dad of 3 daughters. I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And I will tell you, I stay pretty busy in my day job. But the most important job I have is to be a dad to those 3 girls. And I tell everybody all the time, I do 2 things at this point in my life. I work and I watch my kids play sports, but not necessarily in that order. I will tell you that I think that, just the mere fact of dads being there is incredibly important. It's certainly important with daughters like I have, but it's very important in terms of if you're going to see young boys grow up to be men, they need a fatherly figure in their life. And the best way to have a fatherly figure in your life is to have a dad that cares and a dad that shows up and a dad that is present. Now, we know that there are situations in which that's not always possible, but I do think that if we could get back to understanding how important that is, and by the way, you don't have to be a mathematician to look at the statistics and tell that those individual kids that grow up in a 2-parent family compared to those who grow up without a dad, the statistics vary significantly on those individual kids' path to success in life. And so I hope that as we talk about the number of people that are in church on Sundays, and I'm hopeful that as we've moved beyond the craze that was 2021, 2022, the COVID pandemic, I hope we see more and more families getting back in church regularly on Sundays, and that we see more and more fathers understanding how important it is for them to be involved and engaged in their kids' lives.
Yeah, really well said. And you hit the nail on the head there with the second part of this. Not only has the father been removed from the home, but our heavenly father's been removed from so much of our society. And that is the 1-2 gut punch, really, that's been a disaster and leads to like 99% of the problems that we're seeing here. And if we could get some faith back into our society as well, bring that heavenly father in. I'm a person of faith. Our family prays together. We eat dinner together every night. We are church-going people. And I think it's vitally important to the success of that family. And I would love to see a reemergence of faith back into our society, because I think it would do us such a world of good.
Well, I spoke last night at a campground service for about 5,000 church-going members, and I will tell you, as I told them last night, I go to that particular campground meeting every single year, and I get far more out of it listening to the preachers than I give by being there and speaking to a group of that size and magnitude, because the reality is that our Heavenly Father is incredibly important in making sure that people of faith understand that we've got to spread the word, spread the gospel. That we've got to continue to fight for what those principles that we believe in, fight for our freedom of religion, fight for our ability to be able to worship our God. And so I will tell you, it's a challenging time in American history right now, but I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic. And I tell my kids every morning before they go to school that, today's a great day to have a great day. And the reason it's a great day to have a great day is because we have a Heavenly Father that we believe in, that sent His Son to die on the cross to save us from our sins.
Yeah, amen. And just because you said, you have daughters, my kids, I have 4 of them. They are 18, 17, 13, and 9. 9 is my only girl. She's our baby. And, what we're seeing when you have men being allowed to compete in women's sports, when you have men sharing locker rooms with girls, that frightens me, because my daughter is just 9 and just coming up now, and I don't want her living in a world where you have grown men being allowed to share locker rooms and stuff with girls. And I know that Joe Biden wanted to reimagine Title IX to allow men to compete. I know the federal judge sided with you guys in Mississippi to keep it staying the way it was. I had Riley Gaines here on the podcast a few weeks back. She's been imperative in the fight to keep men out of women's sports. And I just think it's so important. And it has to be, I don't think this is a partisan. I don't think this is, both sides of the aisle. Everyone that I've talked to, Democrat or Republican, as a dad, you do not want men to be in the locker room, in the bathroom, or on the same team as your girls. What's your take?
Well, what I would tell you, first of all, is when you say that your 9-year-old is your baby and your only daughter, what you really mean is she's not your baby, she's the boss, right?
Yeah,
I know how
she
that
runs
goes.
the show.
I fully understand that, because our 12-year-old, our baby, is truly the boss around here. Look, this is an issue that is mind-boggling to me. It also is an issue that I think better than any other personifies the Biden administration and where they have gone wrong. The reality is allowing boys to play in girls' sports is an 85 to 90% against issue. People in America are against that because Common sense tells you to be against that. It makes absolutely no sense. Yet the far left wing of the Democrat Party cares about it, and that's who's running the Biden administration right now. And so whether it be Title IX or otherwise, it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me. We passed a law 2 years ago in our state where we said, in Mississippi, we're going to let boys play boys sports and we're going to let girls play girls sports. We passed a law this year with Riley's help. Riley's a good friend, and I commend her. I know she has been attacked across the board by so many people, but Riley is tough, and I'm so proud of her for standing up for what she believes in and standing up for what we all believe in. But we passed a law this year with her help where in our state statute, we actually define man and define woman, and we protect those safe spaces for women, which, as I told the members of our legislature throughout the process, it is mind-boggling to me that in 2024, we have to put these definitions in our statute. But if this is the best way to protect little girls in our state, then by golly, we're going to do it. And that's what we've done in our state. We were the first to sue over the Title IX issue. Our attorney general stepped up. We've worked very closely with her team, and we're going to continue to fight that. And it's just mind-boggling to me that the National Democrat Party has taken the opposite approach, because that's not where the American people are.
Yeah, and all the American people share that same sentiment that I can't even believe that this is something that I have to discuss with a governor, that we have to actually talk about what a man is, what a woman is, and should they be in the same locker room together. It is sad that they've forced, and what a sad commentary on the state of the American family right now that we have to even have these kind of discussions. So big props to you for standing your ground there and standing up for women's rights in that aspect. And last thing before I get you out of here, I got to get your take here on this presidential race, because right now the Democrats are just completely collapsing. They are split. They are at war with one another. They're trying to get Joe Biden out. But the thing is, they're trying to see if they can get him to the starting gate. And it's not about getting him to the starting gate. What is this guy going to be like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? There's no way he's up to the task of doing this job. I don't know. Do you see him getting to the starting gate? If not, who replaces him? And what's your take on the election that we're going to see here in November?
Wow, what a time in American political history. The irony of where we find ourselves here today in the middle of July is that many of the Democrats and their friends in the press and the media for the last 3 years have been trying to hide what we saw on that stage last Thursday night, 2 weeks ago. They've been trying to hide it. And there's been signs. There have been people in the media, there have been honest brokers that have said, look, there seems to be some cognitive decline, but they've denied it, they've fought it, they've hid it as long as they could. And now that it has become even more clear to everyone, they're trying to throw the Bidens under the bus. But the reality is, and this is where I think the Democrats are very much missing the point, this election was going to be tough for them no matter who's at the top of the ticket. It's because their policies are so bad. The things that they've done that have led everyday Americans to go to the gas station and have to pay so much more for a gallon of gas. The things that they have done, which are directly resulting in significantly higher prices for bread, for milk, for the essentials at the grocery store. That's the reason this election is going to be so difficult for Democrats, is because their policies are bad. Now, what's going to happen from here? It appears, at least thus far, that President Biden has made the decision that he is staying in, and that's fine. We need change in Washington, D.C. We need this administration, which I think largely is being driven by the far left of their party. Maybe it's because President Biden's faculties are not what they used to be. Maybe he doesn't have the ability to say no to the far left. But what I do know is their policies are hurting everyday Americans, and we have to stand up and get out and vote in November to change Washington, D.C., to get Biden out of the White House. Because what we saw 2 weeks ago at that debate, most Americans, if that happened to someone in their family, they take away his car keys and they make him stay at home to protect him. Well, he needs to rest somewhere, but it ain't in the White House. Not for the next 4 years. I can say that.
Yeah, it is sad what the Biden family is allowing to happen to Joe Biden. Like him or not, it's very sinister to have this guy go through what he's doing. I agree with you. We need to get Trump in the White House is what we need. We need to turn this country around, and I think we are headed in that direction, thank God. Governor Tate Reeves, keep crushing it in the state of Mississippi. I'd love to have you back on anytime down the line. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Blaze Show.
Well, it was outstanding. Enjoyed it. Thanks for what you do. Let's work together to make America great again.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Honored to have Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves join me on the Alec Blaze Show. That was awesome. What did you guys think about the interview? Hit me with a comment down below. Get involved in the live chat. Well, what an honor to get Mississippi Governor onto the podcast here. I owe that all to you, the listeners out there. Number one, for your constant support and your encouragement for me to continue going with this podcast. And number two, for your suggestions. Keep those suggestions coming and rolling in, who you would like to see on the podcast. That is why we are having such great guests and on such awesome luck getting guests, really, because I got a great audience here, and you guys have been nothing but the best to me. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you to Governor Tate Reeves for joining me and taking a few minutes out of his day and his schedule to join me, to join us here on the Alec Blaze Show. Got another one coming up in just a minute. Tulsi Gabbard, the former Congresswoman of Hawaii. She's going to be here in just a minute here. And right before I get her on, I just want to tell you guys, Tulsi Gabbard, combat veteran, I will be, about a month from today, I will be swimming with the Navy SEALs and other combat veterans across the Hudson River. I did it last year. I'll be doing it again this year. And I'm just sharing it with you guys because I'm doing my part to raise money for the Navy SEAL Foundation. I'll tell you this much. I am training. It goes off August 10th. And when you're training for something, it's funny how the world tries to throw all these kind of hurdles in your way. And it's like, it's when you have a goal and you're trying to shoot for it, the world has a way of throwing obstacles in there to see if you're really going to push through those barriers and if you really want it. And that's kind of, here's a small, soft way this has happened to me yesterday, right? So I've been training at the YMCA, going for my swims, and then I go for the runs later at night. So I try to run a mile a day, swim a mile a day to get prepared for this Navy SEAL swim across the Hudson River. It's like a 3-mile swim and a 2-mile run. We do 300 push-ups and 66 pull-ups. So it's quite for a guy like me, railroad mechanic guy, this is a very, very physically demanding event for me to do. So I've been training for it. So I go to the YMCA yesterday. The problem with the YMCA is during the summertime, it's like summer camp all day, every day long. So when you go to the pool, there's like 6 swimming lanes. When you go to the pool during the summer, 4 of the lanes are blocked off for all the little kids to swim, and you only have 2 lanes for you to swim in. And you have to share the lanes with sometimes 2 people in one lane, 3 people in one lane. Anyway, tough stuff. So I get there. I get changed yesterday. I get ready to jump into the pool. Guy comes running over. Hey, whoa, pool's closed. Pool's closed. I said, what do you mean pool's closed? One of the kids deuced one right in the pool. So they had to close the pool and get everybody out. So I'm like, this is great. Here we go now with this. I'm already, when I swim in the pool with about 50 other kids that are in the other side of the pool, I'm already concerned about the fact that probably every one of them is pissing in the pool there. But so anyway, kid dropped the deuce right in the pool in the deep end there, had to bail. So I had to come out of the pool and I had to go to the ocean. The reason why I wanted to go to the YMCA is because it's so damn hot that I figured it'd be nice to just go in the pool. So anyway, I'd say, let's go. I'm not going to let this stop me. Let me go over to the ocean to get a swim in. So I go to get a swim in at the ocean, and halfway through, I'm feeling like as if there's like sand smacking against my skin, like as I'm swimming, like. So I'm like, what the hell is that on my legs? I come out, it's like a little rash stuff on my legs, and I'm thinking, man, it almost feels like little bites or something. So I start looking at it. My wife, I end up telling my wife this, and she says, yeah, it's sea lice. Apparently, where I am in Monmouth County here, there's a big epidemic of sea lice, which is like larvae from, jellyfish, that's like all along the coast here. So I'm like, what the hell is this? So anyway, life likes to throw a few roadblocks in the way there when you're trying to accomplish a goal. Again, listen to me being a crybaby about just a turd being in the pool and some sea lice in the ocean as I'm trying to get my swim in, but that's what you have to go through sometimes to make it happen. But I share this with you because I am dedicated, and it's for the greatest cause. It's the most patriotic event in New York City all year long. There's about maybe 60 Navy SEALs, and then you have a bunch of other Special Operations Forces guys, firefighters from FDNY. You got NYPD officers that do the swim. It is a absolutely Beautiful, beautiful event put on by Navy SEAL Bill Brown, and I'm doing my part. So if you would like to help me in my process here of trying to raise money for the Navy SEAL Foundation, which is rated 99%, all charities, you know where your money is going. It's going directly to help the Navy SEAL families that are impacted, whether that be the families left behind or the ones that are critically wounded. The Navy SEAL Foundation takes care of the naval special warfare. And let's face it, these guys were the tip of the iceberg throughout the entire war, 20 years going on in Afghanistan, Iraq. These guys were the tip of the spear. They were involved in so much combat footage, so much combat action. We owe a great deal to them, and I'm doing my part. So if you'd like to contribute, I'm going to put the link on the board here. You can find it down in the description. You're going to go to impact.navysealfoundation.org/Alec. That's impact, IMPACT navysealfoundation.org/Alec, ALEC. Again, I've got the link to that down there in the description below. Anything you guys could do to help me out, at least share the link, would be greatly appreciated. All right, so let's move it along here now. I've got a former Congresswoman from Hawaii. Now, also, too, former candidate for the nomination of president in 2020. Also, a combat veteran and author of the new book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. And Tulsi Gabbard did just that. She left the Democrat Party behind. And this may end up being one of the most important books of maybe not just year. This could end up being one of the most important books of the decade here, as more and more people are looking to leave the Democrat Party. There's never been a better time than right now, and there's never been a better person to lead that charge than Tulsi Gabbard. So let's do this. I'm honored to get her on the podcast today. Let's bring her on.
You're listening to the Alec Lay Show. The future is family.
All right, joining me now, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Welcome to the Alec Lay Show.
Thank you, Alec. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
It's an honor to have you here. I know time is short, so put your track shoes on. Let's go through this. Right now, my contention has been this. The open border has never been about helping the poor, struggling illegal immigrant. It's been about helping the Democrats stay in power. We just seen all but 5 of them vote against the SAVE Act, where it should be only American citizens voting in the federal elections. What's your take on the open border? Is this about helping the Democrats stay in power?
There's no question about it in my mind. They're putting our country's security at risk. They're putting our economy at risk, clearly showing their hand that they don't care for the interests of the American people, what's best for our country, and have continued to lie to the American people about how open our borders really are until they got to the point where they realized we are seeing through their lies. It's not only the border states and border communities that are being impacted. We're seeing this now impacting the most hardened Democrat stronghold cities in the country, and even those mayors and some of those leaders calling out for help and saying how strenuous and stressful and unacceptable their open border policy actually is. We should be very clear-eyed about their intent. Their intent is to stay in power, and they're willing to destroy our country and undermine our security if that's what it takes for them to hold on to their power, which makes them incredibly dangerous.
They are dangerous, and they hate this country. These Democrats, they really hate, especially these, these ones on the far left. They really hate America. You have the new book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. I think it's one of the most important books of the decade here. What is your strongest message that you make, not for these Trump derangement syndrome people? We know they're never coming back, but what's the strongest argument you make for the Democrats now that are the old school Democrats to bail on that Democrat Party?
You know, for the disenfranchised Democrats, for the political independents, of which there are more of than any other party members in the country, the civil libertarians, people who value our Constitution and who understand how critical it is that we defend liberty and freedom in this country, many of these voters don't know what they're going to do yet in this election. And after the disastrous debate performance that President Biden had, those that may have been leaning in his direction are now questioning whether or not he is even an option for them, and are being faced with the fact that a vote for President Biden, should he continue to run, is actually a vote for President Kamala Harris, and see how even more disastrous her administration and her as commander in chief would be. These are voters who, many of whom I've met, who are across the country in small towns and big cities, who really do love our country. May not agree on every single issue, may have different ideas on how to solve the healthcare crisis that we are facing, or how to deal with education in this country, but fundamentally are people who really do love our country, recognize that the Democrat elite's insane, woke, radical policies are destroying our country, and are wondering what to do. My call to action in this book, obviously I go into my own personal experiences of being a Democrat for over 20 years and talk from a very personal place about the threat that the Democrat elite pose to our freedom. That is what is on the line in this election. It is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Democrat elite remaining in power, whatever name they may throw out there or whatever frontman they may put before us, the Democrat elite remaining in power are the direct threat to our ability to have life, liberty, and the opportunity to pursue happiness in our country. That has everything to do with domestic policy, the direct undermining of our fundamental God-given rights and freedoms in the Constitution, the undermining of the rule of law, the undermining of our democracy, where we, the people, get to say who we want to serve in office. And it has everything to do with our foreign policy, how under this administration, we are closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before, certainly in my lifetime. And we are on the brink of war with Russia, with China, with Iran, with North Korea, on multiple fronts around different regions of the world. We are far less safe, less secure, and are staring down the barrel of a potential nuclear war that would mean the end of humanity. That's what a Biden-Harris Democrat elite administration will continue to inflict upon us. The clear choice in this election is between nuclear war and tyranny under the Democrat elite, or with President Trump, where we see someone who has the power and the willingness to dismantle the military-industrial complex and begin to get us back on track so that we may live in a country where we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, well said, Tulsi. And for love of country, I got the link to the book down there in the description below. And, you know, just on that point, it's people like you who have been there and know the cost of war. And thank you for your service. But I always say that if the congressmen, the senators, if the politicians who vote for war, who want to send troops, if those people that voted for it had to go on the front lines with the first unit into battle and their family had to go with them, we would never see us enter another foreign war again in our history. And I think that would be the truth. It's always okay to send somebody else's kids, but not their own. And I think if they were attached to it, I think you'd see never another foreign war for us again.
I can't disagree with you on that, which again points to the opportunity and responsibility that we have as Americans. When we see those politicians who so willingly put my brothers and sisters in uniform lives on the line so they can make their friends in the military-industrial complex happy and rich, or so that they themselves can feel powerful or strong, those are the people that we need to send home. We have the opportunity to do that on November 5th. This is not only the most important election of our lives from the presidential race, it is also our opportunity to look at those leaders in Congress who even may claim to stand for peace and liberty, but whose actions tell a very different story. We need to hold them accountable or nothing will change.
Yeah, amen to that. And one place where Donald Trump, he's been picking up all over the place. We know he's doing better with the minority groups than ever before. But one place he seems to struggle is with women. We call it educated women, for whatever that means. What does Donald Trump need to do to sway those women voters over to his side and to vote for him? What does he got to do?
Well, you know, women are not just like any group. We are not a monolithic group think type of people, I guess you could say, nor should we be. Look, it really is about reaching out and delivering a message that resonates with the things that we care most about, whether it's moderate women, whether it is political independence, whether it is civil libertarians, people who are concerned about safety, security, who are concerned about maintaining our freedom and liberty and having a very limited role in our government, and those who are concerned about our government continuing to be controlled by the military-industrial complex and the neocons that bleed between both parties. President Trump has the opportunity to do that not only with his words, but through his actions and the kinds of people that he tells the American people will be part of his team should he win the presidency. That would go a long way.
Yeah, and I think, I think the underdog in this election is the parents in this country, because I, for one, I got 4 kids. My daughter is our only girl. She's the baby in our family. And the fact that they are allowing men to go into the women's locker room, they are allowing men to compete against girls in sports, I think that has set a lot of parents, especially the ones that are right there, maybe leaning left, they see this. And I'm a railroad mechanic. I've been doing that my whole life, 24 years. A lot of Democrats on the job. Nobody agrees with the fact that they are allowing men to go into the locker rooms with these girls and to compete against girls in sports. And I think that is an issue that Trump needs to hammer on, and the Republicans need to hammer on so much, because it goes across the board. No parents want to see this stuff happen.
You're exactly right. There are issues like this, and this is a huge one, that have the power to cross over party lines and that speak directly to the issues that parents and Americans and families are most concerned about. Even those who don't pay attention to politics are feeling and seeing the impacts of these insane woke policies coming from this administration. And there's an opportunity to share a common sense focused problem solving leadership with them that President Trump has the ability to bring in this election and in governance.
Yeah, right on with that. And the last thing I'm going to hit you with here, Tulsi, because I know our time is short. You are on the short list for Trump's vice president, and nobody knows how much the deep state needs to be dismantled better than you. And I know that this country is for the people, by the people, and of the people. That's the way our government is. We got to get it back to the people. I think you'd be great in that position. What could we expect from you if you are the vice president? What could we expect to see from you in that administration?
You know, my goal is to make the most maximum positive impact in service to our country. And if I have the opportunity that in whatever role, you can expect the things that I have been talking about for years, the kinds of changes I have been calling for in our country's leadership, both in domestic policy and foreign policy, and taking on the military-industrial complex, having the courage and the experience to be able to dismantle the power that the deep state has over our government, to be in a position where I can actually begin to make those changes, I will do exactly that.
Well, you've dedicated your life to serving this country. I applaud you and respect you for it. For love of country, leave the Democrat Party behind. The link to the book is down there in the description below. I'd love to have you on any time down the line. Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Lake Show.
Great to talk to you, Alec. Thank you.
All right, honored to have Tulsi Gabbard join me on the podcast here today. What an honor that was. Tell me what you guys think about the interview. Hit me with a comment down below. Hit me in the live chat. Let me know. Don't forget the link to her book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind, one of the most important books of the year, if not the decade. The link to the book down there in the description below. And very grateful to have Tulsi Gabbard join me here on the podcast. Well, it remains to be seen. Will we see her as a VP choice? What do you think about that? Would you like to see a Trump Gabbard, a Trump Tulsi ticket? What would be your call on that? Would you like to see it? All right, so let me get to this one more story here. This one of the things that the Democrats now have loved to have honed in on is this Project 25. This seems to be their go-to thing now to try their scare tactic with this Project 25, right? Here's what the Rolling Stone had to say about the Project 2025. A guide to Project 2025, the right's terrifying plan to remake America. The Heritage Foundation's 887-page policy proposal was crafted with the help of several figures with close ties to the former president. So Joe Biden has been doing a whole all-out blitz as a scare tactic to 2025, Project 2025. Here was actually an exchange yesterday that went viral between Congressman Eric Swalwell, the guy who was sleeping with a Chinese spy, and the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro. This was pretty good. Take a listen.
Mr. Shapiro, thank you for joining us today. I think it is important that you're here as one of the leading conservative voices in the country. And the country has, in the last couple of weeks, talked a lot about and Googled Project 2025. It's one of the most Googled search terms right now. And you're not going to get any censorship from me. So I just wanted to know, from your perspective, I think it would help us understand, on just like a scale of 0 to 100%, how much do you support Project 2025?
I think, like President Trump, I haven't looked all that deeply at Project 2025, but it seems that Democrats on this committee, sort of like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, if they say Project 2025 enough, their presidential candidate becomes alive again.
And so, well, let's just talk about pieces of it, and I guess you can tell me if you support it. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency?
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely?
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would be proud.
It does. It almost seems like the Candyman. You say Candyman in the mirror 3 times, and then he comes. And it almost seems like that. If they keep saying Project 2025, maybe Joe Biden comes to life again. I thought that was pretty brilliant there by Ben Shapiro. Now, here's what they don't show you, right? Now, Biden has been tweeting about Project 2025 nonstop. It's been constant from him. But here's what they don't. Donald Trump has given his platform, has given his plan. He's put it on his official website. He's put it out on Truth Social. But for some reason, the Democrats don't want to seem to read from it. But here it is right here. I'll put up some of the points. I'm not going to read all 20 of them. But here they are. Here's a few of them. Highlights, right? Seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. End inflation and make America affordable again. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. All right, so this goes on and on. We'll skip towards the bottom here. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. Unite our country by bringing it new record levels of success. All right, so these are things that Donald Trump, he has in his bullet points that he's trying to. The Democrats are going all in on the scare. What's crazy is that the Democrats are trying to say, oh my God, if Donald Trump becomes president, then he's going to be a dictator. Donald Trump is going to do this. You had 4 years of evidence and proof that that's not who Donald Trump is. That's not what he did when he got into power in the White House. So they try to make you, again, they try to make you think like you forgot that Donald Trump was already the president. And look at what has happened as a result of it. The economy was booming, right? Jobs were up. We were respected in the world. Wars weren't breaking out all over the place. There was nothing to indicate that Donald Trump was a ruthless dictator. But that's what they're trying to say. Oh, this time he will be. We told you he was going to be that the first time, and he wasn't. Now we're telling you it again he's going to be. And they're fearing the retribution. Oh, their big fear is Trump's going to go in there and seek retribution. Well, stop screwing with the guy. You're all out. You're haunting this guy. They still have a gag order on the president. They're gagging their number one political opponent while telling you we have to gag this guy because he's going to be a dictator. For democracy, we have to gag him. They're putting him on trial for things that every single lawyer that knows anything about anything knows is complete bullshit. But they keep doing it. The real estate one in New York was all nonsense. And if it wasn't, his name wasn't Donald Trump, he would have never been on trial for it. Same thing with the bookkeeping era. Oh, he's a convicted felon. The only reason why they did all these different sham trials was to get that moniker on him. To make you say, oh, look, he's a convicted felon. It's all nonsense. They're doing this nonstop, and it's political persecution, what they're doing to him. But they're telling you that he's going to be the bad guy. They're doing everything right now to him that they're saying, oh, he better not get in there and then start seeking retribution like we're doing right now to him. They hate Donald Trump because he went in there and screwed up everybody's nice little secure little deal that they had while they were screwing the American people. And that's what's been happening in Washington. That is what's continuing to happen in Washington. The people that are in there have their own little sweet little deal, and every one of us is getting screwed over by these people in Washington. Donald Trump went in there to say, hey, you guys aren't going to get your cute little deals that you had anymore. That all comes to an end, and we're going to start helping out the people. And they have did nothing but persecute the guy ever since. So now it's, they got Joe Biden, who's got bats in the belfry, and he's their candidate. They know that he sucks. And they're talking about now, you love that too. Earlier when I was talking about 51 million people didn't see the debate. You think 81 million people voted for Joe Biden the last time? You're crazy. Everybody could see the problems with Joe Biden already. So Joe Biden, it doesn't matter who they put up there at this point. It is rolling along right now for Donald Trump. People have had enough of it. They're sick of it. The Democrats are imploding. And I love how Michael Douglas says, they have a deep bench. Who's the deep bench on the Democrat Party? Who is the deep bench that they have? Hakeem Jeffries? That guy sucks. Who do they got? Gavin Newsom? His record in California will blow him out of the water. He'll have no chance. I mean, who is the deep bench? Beto O'Rourke? Well, who is the one that they're looking at? Not Beto O'Rourke. Who's the guy? Who's that transportation secretary there? Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. Is that who they got? AOC? Eric Adams? These people are unelectable. The only reason why they're getting in is because they're in these crooked political battles where the ballots are being manipulated, and this is the only reason why these people are staying in power. There's no way that you could have a city that's been run by Democrats year after year with no improvement, and the people keep voting for them. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. So there's got to be something going on. Of course, they don't want, to make it safe for the election. They want to make sure illegals can vote in the federal elections, and that's what we're going to see. We're going to see illegals voting in the federal elections. There's no doubt about it. And the Democrats tell you that by saying we're going to call it everything else but what it is. Unconstitutional to have illegals voting in the election. Oh, no, it's racist. Get out of here. All right, so that's all I had for you guys here today. I wanted to make an announcement here for next week. I know we have the RNC. It's going to be a crazy busy week. I'm doing my best to schedule what guests that I can, and I'll make an announcement right here. Coming back to the podcast will be Congressman Tim Burchett. We'll be back here on the podcast next week, so make sure you flip it back and take a listen. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to the guests today, Governor Tate Reeves, Tulsi Gabbard, for giving me a few minutes of their time here. I owe that all to you, the listeners out there. Make sure you follow me on X at Alec Lace to find out all the other upcoming guest announcements. I'll be back here with you guys Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. God bless all you parents out there and you listeners. God bless our police, military, veterans, first responders. God bless America, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
Promo code FATHERHOOD. Go to mypillow.com and everything we have on sale there. Actually, we brought in the percale sheets. The queen size, $34.98 a set. King size, $39.98 a set. That's unheard of. It's the lowest price in history. And everything else on there that we have, you can save up to 80%. We don't have any middlemen. We don't have box stores and stuff. They canceled on MyPillow. They would cancel my book to get my book out, So use that promo code FATHERHOOD, everybody, and please help us out, and thanks for ones that you have already helped out. And by the way, you'll be helping yourself to the best sleep in history, period.
I got to tell you, that mattress topper is the best product I have in the house, Mike, no doubt.
And that turns any bed into the best bed in history. If you got an old bed, new bed, doesn't matter. You put the mattress topper on there, and it changes everything. You need a different input to get a different output. People waking up every day going, maybe my bed will be better tonight. No, you need a MyPillow mattress.